I like Will Johnson as a prospect and a player. If I was a team picking in the top 10 to 12 and I had an option to take him and my board was eroded of a front seven player or maybe a top tackle, like I would take Will Johnson, Bo, over a tight end or a running back. But with the Cardinals, it just feels like their secondary was good enough last year. Their front seven, their defensive line in particular, was atrocious, and not even Josh Sweat and Dalvin Tomlinson alone can fix that. Is Asante Samuel Jr. suddenly damaged goods for NFL teams enough for the Arizona Cardinals to pivot to a quarterback like Will Johnson? I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brock in studio, okay? It's PHNX Cardinals and Bo. We've seen the Cardinals bring in Asante Samuel Jr., the only reported visit for the veteran. And now we're seeing the team do their due diligence on the draft's second-best cornerback in Michigan's Will Johnson. What do you make of it?
Yeah, Johnson confirming that he took a top 30 visit while working out here in the desert, preparing for the draft. And it seems like these are the two viable options now because the erosion of kind of the availability or inavailability of options at the defensive back position. The Cardinals just signed Jalen Jones, who's a special teamer. That's not your way that you're going to elevate your defensive back room, which we thought going into this offseason was going to be a relatively untouched group. But now it seems like the Cardinals are kind of dead set on finding some upgrade at that position. Obviously, Jonathan Gannon's strong suit is the defensive back room, but now you're looking at, do you kick the tires on Asante Samuel Jr.? Do you take a chance at that? Has that ship sailed because of his medicals? And now do you just have to pivot to the draft and utilize another premium pick on him? It's an interesting kind of problem that the Cardinals suddenly have.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a health concern with Asante Samuel Jr. because we're told like his visit went well. Like he's a good guy and was a high pick for a reason. Once upon a time was drafted right above Rondale Moore for the Cardinals. Circa what was that, 2021. And, early in his career, you look at it like a guy who's going to get re-signed. And he came in last year, played only 4 games. And then there were reports from The Athletic. He had stingers in both his shoulder. And so he was shut down for the year. I mean, anytime you do one visit and then it's just kaput, it's quiet. I mean, that happened a week ago, roughly 6-7 days ago. Is word getting out now with agents and other teams that he's just not healthy? Maybe they can circle back to him later in the offseason, potentially. But, I mean, any team looking to sign Asante Samuel Jr., it's a one-year prove-it deal at this point, which I think you and I will both be on board with if they felt like he was healthy enough. But in terms of being able to count on him as an outside corner, Sean Murphy-Bunting was erratic. He was up and down last year. And I know that they want a more definitive veteran presence on the outside. And to me, it's like, I like Will Johnson as a prospect and a player. If I was a team picking in the top 10 to 12 and I had an option to take him and my board was eroded of a front seven player or maybe a top tackle, like I would take Will Johnson, Bo, over a tight end or a running back. But with the Cardinals, it just feels like their secondary was good enough last year. Their front seven, their defensive line in particular, was atrocious, and not even Josh Sweat and Dalvin Tomlinson alone can fix that.
Yeah, it's like the premium dollars, the premium picks, like you feel like you've invested that in this position enough to where here in year 3 of the offseason, it's like, hey, the focus was going to be the defensive front seven. It's got like the premium picks. They need to go there. This draft merits that, right? And now you're sitting here is like, could they really take a defensive back? Well, what are their other options? And it's just like the Cardinals are building this thing backwards from the back end of the defense to the front. And like, I don't care how good you are. You could have Darrelle Revis. You could have Primetime, like out there on an island. Like you're going to be putting these guys in a tough position to cover for far too long if these are the only additions you make to your defensive front seven. Like I credit to Monti Ossenfort. He took the best edge off the free agent market. I think he got second or third best defensive lineman when he became available in Dalvin Tomlinson, and it just didn't help. They weren't able to check that box as far as the defensive back. And like as far as a football player with stingers in their shoulders that they haven't found a solution for. It's like if you're a basketball player and you got issues with your feet, like it's just not going to work. Like your shelf life is going to be very short. And for a team to buy into that would be very naive. So like, what are your options? Like We talked about a trade earlier this week. Like, would a Denzel Ward become available? That's going to cost you premium draft capital, plus taking on that deal might be worth it. Also, you look at a guy like Jair Alexander with far more red flags. His inavailability the last couple years have made him a potential cut candidate for the Packers. And if he gets cut, maybe that becomes a different conversation. But right now, it's like Asante Samuel Jr., or you're slumming it at the bottom of the available free agent defensive backs, or you turn your attention fully to this draft, and maybe it's another guy that you want to draft and develop.
Yeah, I just feel like in a draft that leans so heavily into impact front seven, defenders, D tackles, defensive ends, I think you have to trust that Elijah Jones can maybe take a step. Max Melton, Garrett Williams can be consistent. Go ahead.
That's the point too. And I think it's like, I think you want an established guy because it's a proven commodity where you've got a lot of guys that you're basing on promise and projectables. Like Elijah Jones, as you mentioned, medical redshirt his first season. We didn't see them outside of preseason play. Like, what can you rely on him? And if you don't, and I think that's why the debate becomes for the Cardinals is like, do they utilize another premium pick? Are they taking 16th overall defensive back? Because if you take somebody in late day 2, day 3, he's probably in the realm of Elijah Jones, Max Melton. Like, you don't like, I think you know more about Max Melton, but like Elijah Jones, like if you take Kobe Bryant out of Kansas, who's a nice defensive back prospect, but like, is he definitively better than Elijah Jones? You don't know that. And I don't think that's what they want to do. Just have another name on the roster could be similar.
They need a veteran. Will they get one? Will they look to pursue Asante Samuel Jr. once again? Will Asante Samuel Jr. take another visit anytime soon? Drop a comment down below. What should the Cardinals do opposite Garrett Williams and Max Melton over Sean Murphy-Bunting? Do us a favor, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Give us a like. We'll see you next week.